So we'll see
Look
if that...
at me. Yeah, I'm being
There we go.
smart. It is
Yeah, there we go.
Mediterranean.
Yeah. We got lied
Yeah, I'm
to.
feeling it just had to be like I saw these civs and I was like, I'm proud of myself right now, so I'm just gonna enjoy this moment for a second.
I had too much faith in Petito. Stupid duck. But
Yeah,
yeah,
now everything makes sense now.
I kind of like I'm an agent of chaos, so I really want this to actually not be Mediterranean. Guys, this is definitely Oasis. It's just the tree lines are bugged, as is the center island that's meant to exist. Nah, of course we are a Medi, which means we are going to get all-out naval warfare. We have got Rus, English, and Chinese on the side of Pirozhki. And then on the other side for Kimchi jjigae enjoyers, we're going to have the HRE Chinese English. Interesting clash. So only difference here is Rus and HRE. And I feel like HRE have the edge, at least on Medi, right? Especially when you look at the win rates, at least in 1v1s. Do you feel like it's the same way in team games?
Yeah, so the way I feel about weather balance right now is, since they made all the ships the same for every civ, basically the best civs are the ones with eco bonuses.
Yeah.
And then English get their eco bonus in a different way because the ships are cheaper. So, in a way, that's also an eco bonus. So it's just like, how strong is your eco bonus? And that will decide how good on a water map you are. And I think HRE's eco bonus is the strongest. So that's why I think they're the best civ in general.
For me, it's a case of they're on the clock, right? Like HRE, the way most players describe it is the first 25 minutes. If you can survive that, you come out ahead of an HRE player. Because they're not gathering under the Arkin anymore.
5 minutes? It's
25 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Why I was confused.
Yeah, 25. 5 minutes. Jesus Christ. I mean, honestly, I must have buffed those rates. But 25 minutes, right? You've exhausted your initial wood and gold, and most players aren't building more prelates.
Right. Yeah, I think it's actually an underrated thing to train more prelates to put in your economy. And especially like if you train it from like a Regnitz or a monastery, it doesn't idle your TC either. And the tech that gives it even like the extra 10% is also almost never, like, people don't really get it, but it's really good.
Yeah, it's hard slept on. Like it's kind of weird. I feel like half the HRE players used to get it and then half just didn't. Now most people ignore it. There's even a few players that really love the build speed. I never was able to test this. Like, I don't know, maybe we've got Agent Noob in chat and he can go do some thorough testing. One thing I was confused about is whether it gave a raw 10% increase to build speed or only a relatable one. So for example, for those that don't know what we're talking about, there's a tech for HRE where it increases your build speed when you're inspired by 10%. But
I wasn't talking about that tech.
I know you were, but I was leading into it because it's another interesting one. Like, so you see where I'm going with this because kind of a deep dive. It's a nerdy deep dive, Artie. We're doing a nerdy deep dive.
Okay. Oh, I'm all for it. Yeah.
So, you know how building works, where the initial build is worth 100% and then everyone's worth 25%. What I'm not sure of is if that HRE tech that increases build speed while you're inspired only gives you 10% of 25% for every extra villager, or if it gives you an extra 10%, so each additional villager is worth 35%.
So you need to explain this part that you mentioned earlier about pretending to be smart. So what am I supposed to say here that I will pretend to understand everything you just said?
Use some big words about macroeconomics and mathematical theories, and how if you look at the parallel theories that come out of both Einstein and Hawkins, it would be logical to assume that there is a mathematical gain in that tech upgrade.
Yeah, whatever you just said, I'm just gonna copy paste. So anyway, we're gonna have Rus here, which is the most interesting dynamic of this map, because is he gonna convert his fishing boats or is he not? Like English can be, Rus, I mean, can be really aggressive here if he does the conversion, and sometimes you can just idle the complete fishing economy from the opponents. So I'm curious to see if he's gonna convert or if he's just gonna sit back.
Yeah, so one of the interesting things actually is like Rus, when they're playing on the 1v1s, can more easily make this conversion play. It feels like it can be a little bit delayed when you think about just how big Medi is in the 3v3, but he is going to be going for it anyway, despite the potential delays. Does mean you have additional time where you're not necessarily fishing, which is why I love this little detail where Anatan is essentially fishing spot hopping. across the map.
Yeah, and for any players watching that don't know, you can right-click in the middle of your fishing boat as roost to collect the food that they're carrying. So if you're ever converting, make sure to the right-click in the middle of your boat to collect the food before you do.
Well, looks like he's in position. Now, is this going to be a fake? No, so he has converted them. I've seen some players just actually pretend and then wait for their opponents to peel back and they don't have to convert. But he did go for a 1-1, so galley plus a springald ship. Oh,
It's
yeah.
unfortunate that you can't cancel the conversion. Otherwise, that would work because the ships would like be sailing slowly.
Yeah.
So you would know their conversion is in progress, and then you could cancel it. But
Okay.
right now you can't cancel it. So like if they're sailing at full speed, you know nothing's happening.
So hear me out. You can still debate them. It's just micro intensive. You just keep clicking forward and then hitting S.
Yeah, you gotta be a real good actor for that one. But yeah, that would be fun to see.
Yeah. I mean, there is one way to cancel a conversion. It requires deleting the ships, which definitely is not ideal. So it looks like the early aggression will cause a little bit of idle time, but not much else. And the worrying detail about that is, on the other side, because there's that HRE factor, like economically, unless you can do more damage than that, Kimchi jjigae should end up ahead off the back of this.
Yeah, I feel so as well. And so usually what we've been seeing on water maps is the very early part of the game you make a couple of the, what are they called, like the springald boats. And at some point it just becomes like Archer boat ball. how should I say it?
I call it the Age of Pew Pew Mark II, because the first one used to be horse archers, and now we've got a new type of Pew Pew. But like the whole point, I went to Wallo, and my theory going in is like archer ships are actually broken. They try to create an equal triangle, but it's actually not. It's like, I believe it's an isosceles triangle, where the archer ships are just better than the other two. But that only works at scale. I think until you're around 20 archer ships, the balance system does work.
I think it's a bit earlier than that. I think it's
Maybe like
probably
15?
maybe like 10 to 15. But so that's what I was trying to explain as well. Like the first, I don't know, let's say 11 minutes or something of the game, you do want to be making the springald boats because they do actually counter for a while. But once you reach critical mass, you just want to be spending archer ships. And in a 3v3, that's gonna mean a lot of archer ships.
Yep. And a cluster duck of a fight, because remember, 3 players, maxing archer ships, these fights are going to feel a little bit cramped. One thing that is interesting actually is what the English players offer and why they're probably going to be incredibly dominant and almost S tier in these 3v3 naval games rather, is they can get the additional range, right?
Sorry, I was looking at this man-at-arms and tower, and I was mostly focused on that, so I was distracted there for a second. Sorry, what were you talking about?
The fact that why English will probably feel pretty S tier in the team naval games is the fact that when you cluster the fights with so many archer ships, the difference maker that the English bring is they get admiralty, so they get the extra range.
Oh, the extra range is huge, yeah. For sure. But this tower that's coming up, like he scouted it and he didn't feel cool to take it down or anything. I think there's limited amount of wood lines on this map, and that being denied, in a game like this, just all your fills are always on wood. So losing that wood and now also losing his fleet.
That's true. And he hit the most valuable player as well, right? Because if you think about it, there's 2 players in this game that are benefit the most from wood. You can argue Chinese are kind of equal; they balance each other out. But you've got HRE, the 40% gather rate on the wood line, and then you're going to have the Roost that take that finite wood line and get an extra 20%. So quite the big difference.
Yeah, so having to move and then remake the new tower and stuff really hurts you, yeah.
Yeah, and where are you going to move? If you move towards Cat's base, it kind of feels like you're taking a wood line away from him, at least by this generation, because his next wood line is north of here. Closer, I'd say, to the Chinese base than the Roost base.
I like how Lenog was like, oh, you can make men-at-arms?
Wait, we both have heavily armored units? Oh, okay. Oh, man. And the problem is the waterfront is just a stalemate, right? So, you're not gaining enough ground here to make a difference in the fact that 2 of your opponents are building men-at-arms. Oh, damn.
Yeah, so usually on border maps, the defender advantage is so big just because like not only are you healing, you're also just reproducing into the fight straight away, and so you often get a stalemate at some point. So this little bit of value that they're getting with the man-at-arms is insane.
Now you can see they're trying to be a little bit big brain here, because you could just A-click these team battles, but you want to be doing more than that. Otherwise, the boom ships get in like this. The wraparound looks big, coming in from sort of as deep as possible. A heavy hit to Pirozhki's fleet. And now an opportunity for Kimchi jjigae to push forward.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna be honest here, I have no clue how to call this, but I do know that the man-at-arms on the wood lane are gonna be like a very deciding factor in this game.
I mean, I'll give you a simple way to call it. Like, you're right about the men-at-arms having a big impact, but the fact that they just lost water as well is going to put them heavily behind. Men-at-arms shift to the north side. Just as soon as you get a wooden fortress up, you might once again be denied as the Ruse player.
No, but I mean, as the fight was happening, for me, it's really hard to tell who's gonna win it. Like, eventually I could see that the top team at the upper hand, but it's so hard to call for me. Look at this idle time, it's crazy.
It's painful to watch. I mean, just look at the size of Anatan's fleet right now. 7.
Yeah, he's really hurting.
Like, every player on the other side either has the same or bigger. You know, size might not always matter, but it really does in Naval. Especially when we talked about that whole Archie ball that every player is playing towards.
Yeah, so usually water fights are a lot of this, where one side looks to be like, oh, I think that side is winning, and then, then the other side falls back, and then they are winning just because of it, and their advantage just swings back and forth.
In theory, like, on maps that this big, you'd think that Spring Wars would last a bit longer because they have that unique tech, that unique ability, right, that allows them to sail faster so they can gap close on retreating archer ships. But it seems to rarely ever play into these skirmishes. We get another one, and this one is a bad one for Pirozhki to be forced to take, but they really just don't have anywhere retreating anymore. I feel like at this stage, sort of is more or less just carrying this fight on his lonesome. More boom ships come through, another heavy hit as he dives in. He's like, I'm not really sure what is Springwood and Archer anymore. I'm just going to blow them all up.
Yeah, and you can just see the difference in the fleet size from yellow, especially from Anatans, because of all the idle time and everything.
And he's over a double up militarily in favor of Kimchi jjigae right now, and that's not.
It is a Lenok dock, by the way. Can we just? I want to focus on that for a second because that's hilarious.
Oh my god. So what you're saying is time for demo ship. Choo-choo?
No, I'm expecting the arrow slits, right?
Yeah, you could. But also, why stop there? You know, once you got the arrow slits, the next thing to do is build boom booms. I mean, you're right next to the docks, you can delete them. But my, oh my, I mean, this is looking like the beginning of the end. They're going to lose full water at this rate. Another demo ship makes its way in. Heavy hit taken down free, and now everything's gone. They can't fight back anymore. They lost land and sea. GG will get called.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're gonna call GG here. Well, I do get my wish. I do get to see Oasis.
Woohoo! And Delhi likely to be picked there as well. There you go, Artie. You get everything you want.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Quite a scrappy one. Love the plan to land though. I love the fact that they just looked and said, "Oh, we have more men-at-arms building type civs here, so let's just lean into that slightly." The best part about it is the fact that I don't feel like they skimped on it. Like, they produced a decent amount of men-at-arms at a very early point, which is difficult to do now that naval units also cost food.
Yeah, but your fishing eco should still be good enough that you should have some extra food. And yeah, it's so funny how these games can work out because it just states and one Vil forward, and that Vil decided the entire game. It just all collapsed as soon as these raids started happening.
Wait. So you're saying now 2 games in a row, State sending one villager forward has decided the outcome?